Okay, this week we're going to learn about Hanukkah, just to get the historical perspective of when Hanukkah happened. So the first Bais Hamikdash stood 410 years. Second Bais Hamikdash stood 420 years. Between the first Bais Hamikdash and the second Bais Hamikdash was 70 years. Okay, so it's 410, 70, 420. The story of Purim took place at the beginning of this, right before the beginning of the second Bais Hamikdash, at the end of the 70 years between the first and the second. Chanukah took place midway through the second Bais Hamikdash. The Rambam says after the story of Chanukah, there were 200 years until Churban Bayesheni. So Purim happened approximately 200 years before the story of Chanukah. Purim happened at the beginning of the second, before the building of the second Bais Hamikdash, and Chanukah happened in the middle of the second Bais Hamikdash. Okay? Now the Gemara says, like, my Chanukah, what is Chanukah? So the Gemara says a story. The Rambam quotes it also from the Gemara, that at the time of the second Bais Hamikdash, there was a decree by the Greeks. They made exodus, you can't keep Torah mitzvahs, they can't keep Shabbos, can't keep Bris Milah, they defiled the women, and so on. So the Maccabees was a very small amount of Jews, by the way. According to certain opinions, there were like 5 Maccabees, and that was it. Fought against the big Greek army, and they won. Now, what day did they finish the battle? So the Rambam writes, the beginning of Chanukah, the Rambam writes that the battle was won on Chaf Hei Kislev. That's what it says. Chanukah, Chanukah is towards Chanukah. They rested on the 25th. That's what the Rambam holds. The Meiri, who was also a Rishon, argues with the Rambam, and he said they actually won the battle on the 24th of Kislev. Why do they call Chanukah? I mean, Chanukah is another meaning also, but they won the battle on the 24th, but they rested on the 25th. The question is, the Rambam and Meiri, did they win the battle on the 25th of Kislev or on the 24th of Kislev? That's just the argument and a fact of history. It doesn't change any of the halacha in any way whatsoever. Okay, so when they came into the Bais Hamikdash, the Greeks defiled all the oil. Okay, all the oil was sealed with, they defiled all the oil until they found one jug of with the seal of the Kohen Gadol was buried in the ground. Okay, it was buried in the ground. They found that jug of oil, and as everybody knows, it was enough to last one day, but it lasted 8 days. Why did it last? Why did it have to last for 8 days? Because it took them 8 days to get new oil, new pure oil. Why did it take them 8 days? There are different opinions. Some opinions say they were tamei mace, they were all impure from dead bodies, so they had to wait 7 days to get with the red heifer, the parah adumah, to get squirted with the ashes. It took 7 days to become pure, and 1 day to make the oil. Another opinion says that no, they weren't tamei necessarily. But it took 4 days to get there and 4 days back. So by the time they were able to get the oil, it was 8 days. And this jug, this little jug that was enough for 1 day, ended up lasting 8 days. Okay, there's a lot to talk about, just what the miracle was and so on and so forth. But let's first get into halachos, and after we finish all the halachos, in the next few days we'll discuss these things also. So therefore the Gemara says, the Shana Abad, the year after Chanukah, Kovim B'Halal V'Hidah. The Chacham of that generation established Chanukah B'Halal V'Hidah. Halal V'Hidah means to say Halal. So it's a rabbinic mitzvah. That's why Chanukah we say complete Halal. It's a rabbinic mitzvah to say the complete Halal. And Hidah means Ala Nisim. So just that is an interesting point, because the Gemara doesn't say anything about lighting candles. The Gemara doesn't say anything about lighting candles. The main Yom Tov of Chanukah was established, the Gemara says, B'Halal V'Hidah. To say Halal and to say Ala Nisim. It's also not for now, but if you notice, in the davening, when we say Ala Nisim, when we say the tefillah of Ala Nisim, does not talk at all about the candles. It talks about the war, Giborim b'yad chaloshim, Teirim b'atmeim, all that, Tmeim b'ateirim. This that it says at the end of Al Anisim, Vidliku neiros b'chatzreis kodshecha, is not the candles of the menorah. The Rebbe explains in the Sikha that the menorah was not lit b'chatzreis kodshecha in the courtyards. The menorah was lit in the heichal. So this that the Gemara, the Tefillah of Al Anisim says, Vidliku neiros b'chatzreis kodshecha, that they lit candles b'chatzreis kodshecha, they were festivity candles. They were not the menorah. So again, Al Anisim talks nothing about the menorah. It only talks about the war. Haneris Halalu that we say talks about the candles, not about the war. So it's very interesting. There's two distinct issues with Hanukkah. And again, that's time to keep in mind. We'll discuss it later. Okay, they're called Chanukah. Why are they called Chanukah? Like we said, Chanukah. They rested on the 25th. Also, Chanukah comes from the word Chanukah Sabayis. They rededicated the Mishkan. The Bais Din. After the Greeks defiled it, the Jews had to rededicate it. Another thing, it says in the Medrash, that the Mishkan in the Midbar, was actually finished on the 25th of Kislev. But they didn't dedicate, Hashem didn't want it to be dedicated until Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So there's another reason why it's called Hanukkah, because of the dedication of the Mishkan, in addition to the dedication of the Beis Hamikdash and Chanukah. Now there's also, and the Sfarim bring down, that Hanukkah, it's a famous Rosh Tevis, is an acronym, a Rosh Tevis for Ches Nun Vav Chaf Hey, is Ches Neirot V'Halacha K'Beit Hillel. There are 8 candles, and the halacha is like Beis Hillel. Because in the Gemara there's an argument, when you light the candles, we'll get the Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin. So according to Beis Shammai, the first day you light 8, then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beis Hillel holds, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like we do with the halacha like Beis Hillel. But, so Ches Neiros Halacha K'Beis Hillel means that's the way you do it. That the halacha is like Beis Hillel, you light upward, not downward. Well, that's what, there's 2 reasons, but it's not, okay. Now we have to do it, now the difference between Chanukah and Purim, there are many differences, but Purim there's a mitzvah to eat. One of the mitzvahs of Purim is to have Sudas Purim. The Chachamim never established Sudas Chanukah. Why? Why didn't the Chacham establish a meal Chanukah like they did for Purim? So the Chazal tell us, the Mefarshim explain, because Chanukah was a decree against the neshama of the Jew. Because the Greeks didn't care if the Jews kept Yiddishkeit. They wanted to be, it should be in, like according to Greek culture. That's where the Misyavnim, as they were called in Hebrew or in English, they're called the Hellenists, that Jews that followed Greek tradition were held in high esteem. They didn't want to kill the Jew. They wanted to kill Yiddishkeit. Purim, on the other hand, was a gzeira against the body. Lashmed, Ladug, Alabid, Kol HaYudim. He didn't care who you were. So therefore, Haman, in the Purim, the decree was on the body of the Jew. Chanukah, the decree was against the neshama of the Jew. Therefore, Purim, the Chacham instituted a mitzvah to eat because of the guf. And Chanukah, we light candles, and their mitzvah, it's the neshama, ner Hashem nishmas adam. That's one thing. Nevertheless, Chachamim, the halacha says that if you have a meal on Chanukah and you say a Dvar Torah, it becomes a Sudas mitzvah. But there's no mitzvah per se to eat a Su'udah on Chanukah, like there is on Purim. And in Perush, there's a B'nai Yisachar, one of the great Perush Rebbe says, this explains the Jewish minhag that on Purim we play with a grager, the noisemakers by Haman. In Chanukah we play with a dreidel. Now a dreidel, the handle's on top. The grager, the handle's at the bottom. So he explains why is that the minhag Yisrael? Because Chanukah was a spiritual decree, the handle's on top. Purim was a physical decree, the handle is on the bottom. That's what the Bnei Yisachar says. It's accepted all over the place that this is the reason why you see the holiness of a minig, even that aspect of it. Okay, so you have to have that. If you speak a dvar Torah, then it's this mitzvah. You're not allowed to fast during Hanukkah. Even a chassan who's getting married on Hanukkah doesn't fast on Hanukkah. He fasts before Hanukkah or whatever. Concerning work on Hanukkah, so the women, only the women, not the men, have a minig that obligatory time for the candles to burn a half an hour after night. Women have a minig that they don't do work. It doesn't necessarily mean household things, they're cooking, they could, but the women have a minig, not like a Rosh Chodesh or Chol Hamoed. Women will not do work while the candles are burning. They won't do laundry, they won't sew, they won't, things like that. Why? What's the source of that? Because Hanukkah is connected very much to women. There was a famous daughter of Yechanan Kohen Gadol, her name was Yehudis. And Yehudis was a beautiful woman, and the Greek general wanted to be with her. So she took care of him. What did she do? She gave him dairy. He became thirsty. She gave him wine. He fell asleep. She chopped off his head and brought it to the Greeks. When the Greeks saw that the general was dead, so they all ran away, and that was so because of that, there's a mitzvah, women were given a special schus in Hanukkah that they also don't do work during the times that the candles are burning. Before you have to, but just half an hour, but men don't have that minig. Another thing, by the way, that's one of the reasons why some poskim write, there's a custom, not everybody does it, but a custom to have dairy during Hanukkah, because the miracle came about with Yehudis, she fed him dairy and he got thirsty and so on and so on.
Hanukkah work as usual.
Huh?
In Hanukkah you work as usual.
During the day? Yeah, just during the half an hour the candles are burning, the women don't.
Sign contracts, everything.
You can sign contract, if you say make a lot of money, give it to the shul, that's for sure allowed. Now, another interesting din, women are obligated in Hanukkah candles. Even though, l'cha'era, they shouldn't, because it's a positive mitzvah connected to time. It's only on Hanukkah. You have the same question with Purim. We learned when we were learning Purim almost a year ago, that women are obligated in all the mitzvahs of Purim. So it says, even though l'cha'era it's a mitzvah saseh shazman grami, even though it's a mitzvah connected to time, and women are not obligated in a mitzvah connected to time, but over here is different. Why? Because afein hoyu ba'isei anes. Women are part of the miracle of Hanukkah. The decree of Hanukkah was against men and women. Purim, the decree was against men and women. So because they're part of the miracle, so therefore they're obligated in the mitzvah of Hanukkah and Purim. But this concept, of what the Gemara calls afein hoyu ba'isei anes, that they're part of the miracle of therefore they're obligated, you only say it by a rabbinic mitzvah, not by a biblical mitzvah. Because if you think about it, sukkahs, they also are part of the clouds of glory. Why don't women have to eat in the sukkah? Okay? So you don't say this, the poskim right, you don't say the concept, afein hoyu ba'isei anes, I believe Taisa says it also. Afein ba'isei anes, you don't say it by a biblical mitzvah. So biblical mitzvahs talk to women, unless if there's side reasons why, they are not obligated to mitzvah connected to time. They have to eat matzah and Pesach, they have to make Kiddush and Shabbos, even though they're both connected to time. That's for different reasons. But not because we make a hekesh in the same pasuk, it says, don't eat chametz, eat matzah. So the Gemara says, the fact that the Torah puts it in the same pasuk, don't eat chametz, eat matzah, means whoever is obligated not eating chametz, which women are obligated in all negative commandments, so they have an obligation to eat matzah. Same thing with Shabbos. Why are women obligated in Kiddush and all that? Even though it's a mitzvah connected to time, it's a biblical mitzvah. So it says, because Zachar v'Shamar b'di barachot, so the Shamar means don't desecrate Shabbos. Zachar means make Kiddush. So the Gemara learns out, whoever is obligated not desecrating Shabbos has to make Kiddush. But those are biblical exceptions, and you can't say they were part of the miracle. That's only said by a rabbinic mitzvah. Okay, the mitzvah of candle lighting on Hanukkah is so important that a person who's poor has to sell the shirt off his back to do the mitzvah of Hanukkah candles. That's how important the mitzvah of Hanukkah is. Persum Nisa and so on. He even he has to borrow or sell his clothing in order to light candles. The Gemara says, Azor ben Ner, whoever is meticulous and careful in the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah and Ner Shabbos also, they will merit to have sons scholars, sons-in-law scholars, because Ner mitzvah of Torah or. If you're careful in Ner mitzvah, then you have Torah or, you got the schus to have children that are scholars and sons-in-law that are scholars. One more thing before we go to Ma'ariv, and that is, the Gemara says like this: what is the mitzvah of the Chanukah? The Ner mitzvah. What is the mitzvah of Chanukah candles? So the Gemara says, Vaad Rabbonim mitzvahs Chanukah ner ish ubeisei. One candle per household per night. That means if you have 5 people in the house, the first night you light 1 candle, second night 1 candle, third night 1 candle, 8th night 1 candle. That's what you do. Then the Gemara says, Mahadrin, if you're more meticulous, you want to be Hiddur mitzvah, then you have to have 1 candle per night per member of the household. So if you have 5 men, you light 5 candles the first night, 5 candles the second night, 5 candles the third night, and so on. Then you have Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin, careful of the carefuls. And the Rebbe explained, you rarely find in halacha a concept Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin besides Chanukah. Rarely in the halacha you find Mahadrin many times. Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin, and as we learn Chanukah issues, we'll learn why only by Chanukah there's Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin. So then it says like this, Mahadrin, Mina Mahadrin, what do you do? So then Beis Shammai says you go 876, Beis Hillel says you go 1, 2, 3. But there's a machlekes, famous argument between Taisus and the Rambam. The Rambam says that it means every person in the house lights 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 7, 8. Taisus says no, the Gemara means 1 person only. That's what the other Rishonim write. The Ashkenazic poskim, Taisus says that you light 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but only 1 menorah. The Rambam says everybody lights a menorah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Taisus said, No, everybody makes their own bracha. Wow. What's interesting, and this the Chidah says, it's a very interesting thing. The Ashkenazim is one of the few cases. The Ashkenazim follow the Rambam, and the Ashkenazim follow the Rambam, and the Sfardim follow Taisus. In Ashkenazim, we pass like the Rambam. It's very rare because the Rambam is Sfardi. But we pass like the Rambam. Everybody, all the men light them in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the Ashkenazim, the Sfardim pass like Taisus. Says only 1 person.